You are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
Como están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. That is Evo. It is Friday night. We are doing a big combined show. We're recapping the wild card. We're talking the divisional round, and we have a special guest backstage. But before we talk about that, let me bring my guy in, Evo. Welcome home. Welcome back. Last time we saw you, you were at Grandma's house. Looks like you are back at the house, at the casa. Probably not feeling great about the way the weekend went for your team. But you know what? We're going to talk about where we could go from here later on in the show. But my man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. It is nice to be home, back in Hangar 6, as those of you who know our background. It is nice to be back here. I'm glad I was able to make that trip up to Colorado Springs and help out and be of assistance. And I'll be back there before too long again. But it is nice to be here, back home. And this last weekend, you see my team's playoff hopes go away pretty damn quick. And I was definitely upset during that game and for about a day afterwards. And there's one thing about me is I will not dwell on it for too long, though. I start to hunt the good stuff, old Army training, that master resiliency training. I look for the good things in any sort of a issue or a problem or a negative situation, and I'll find the positives in it. And I'm already back up to an 8, 9, maybe a 10 because I'm excited for the offseason. Look, I get to be with you. And with all the Browns fans and everything. And look, it's home for me as a Vikings fan, right? Like, we are usually in this sort of a spot where we get to say, God damn, I can't wait for some draft time and some free agency time, because that's when we are going to fix all our problems, solve everything, and we're going to go hunt down Lombardi Trophy. So I am excited for the future for my team, just like I'm sure that you're excited for the opportunity for your team to make some positive steps forward. Yeah. So I get to be down in the slums with everyone else, but it makes the playoffs in some ways more interesting, more easy to watch, because I'm less solo focused in one area. Okay. Everything else isn't on the fringes. It is real. It is just the playoffs now. And now I get to kind of focus on everything a lot more, pay a lot more attention, and enjoy without having anxiety the entire time about my team.
Yeah. So I have enjoyed the playoffs thus far. I mean, some of the games are really shitty. One really good game. But I am excited for the opportunity for our team to get better because the Browns need to drastically get better. And with that being said, I think the guy that we got waiting backstage would also agree with me. Huge Browns fan, a avid hater of Deshaun Watson and all things that came with him. We're going to continue to talk about how the Browns move on from there with our guy, Roger First and Cuyahoga Falls from the Dog Chug. Roger, welcome on.
Hey, guys, Mike, Evo, thank you very much for having me tonight. I'm glad to be here. It's a great fight. Before we get into anything, I want to tell you, I was sitting in a parking lot. My son was in baseball, and that's when I have a chance to all the dads sit in their cars, right? And we're listening to whatever sports talk. I was listening to you guys on the podcast the other night, and I've never understood the salary cap. I've had nerds tell me that they feel sorry I'm old. I don't understand today's NFL, and I don't care. I'll spend Jimmy Haslam's money. I'll spend it, all of it. And it seems like we have the right guys in place that can do the math. So I don't have to worry about it. They may not be able to pick players, but they can do the math, and I don't have to worry about the salary cap. So I've never understood it. And the other night, it was like a ray of sunshine hit me. And Evo said, walk into a strip joint. Give them $100. That $100 is gone. It's an escrow, baby. You can spread it around to all the girls. You can take some home. You can do whatever you want, but the hundo's staying there, and your play money, you can do whatever you want with that. You know what I mean? That's what the Browns did when they went after Deshaun Watson. They put that money, it was gone. He had to put it in escrow. It was buried. You're never touching it again. However you want to break it up, or whatever the insurance is, that money's gone. Coming back from it, it's like limping back from Evo. You're lucky you got a kid ready to play quarterback for you next year. That I think is going to take Minnesota, man. I'm a big Vikings fan now because of that quarterback that you got from Michigan. Oh, my flag's not in the screen. But
that was strategic, Roger. That was 100% strategic. Fuck that flag.
But it's going to be a rebuild of Michigan proportions for the Cleveland Browns at the quarterback position. You know what I mean? Like when Harbaugh took over at that, they had nothing, for a couple years at quarterback. The Browns have started, they put everything into it, and they rolled the dice. And I don't know, I don't want to talk forever. If you want to get into where they go from there, go ahead. It's your show. I talk like you got to cut me off. Andy cuts me off. Ed cuts me off.
That's all right, Roger. Hey, listen, I liked where you were going because you were driving me to a couple other points. But one thing I do have to bring up is the Michigan thing. It's really hard. There's a weird group of fans that's sometimes hard to interact with because I'm all Ohio. I'm Cleveland Browns. I'm Ohio State. Then you get your Browns and Michigan fans. And then you get those really weird ones, your Ohio State Steeler fans. Those people are hard to talk to as well. It's just a weird amalgamation. And there's so many deep rivalries that run out here. And things get heated a lot, especially in Browns Twitter. Things get crazy on Browns Twitter. And it's going to be even worse throughout the entire winter as we go towards the draft. I have a tweet we'll pull up here a little later. I got some names prepared that we can call each other when we're starting to fight online again, because we know it's going to happen. We had our Baker Bros. We had our Watson Warriors. I got some special names for some other possible quarterbacks that we might be seeing here in Cleveland Browns uniforms. But with that, Evo, I think we should start diving into some of the football that has already happened. We got some wild card games to recap. And with that, man, like this weekend of games, we thought there was going to be some really good ones. It didn't start out that way. And we were both wrong as shit. Chargers taking on the Texans down in Houston. Chargers out there from LA. A lot of things happening with that team. I thought maybe it would help galvanize them. It seemed to do the same thing for the Rams. That is not the way it played out at all in this game. The Texans go out there and absolutely dick whip the Chargers. And there are very serious questions about the quarterback spot and if Justin Herbert is overrated. Evo, what did you see in this game? Was Herbert pressing? Like, where does it go wrong? Because you've been kind of up and down on Herbert for a while.
Like, I like Justin Herbert. I think he has that potential. Especially, he's got all the physical tools that you want for a quarterback to be able to be a top 5 type of guy. And he's been in shitty coaching situations with Brandon Staley there. And, that they've slowly been peeling back receivers, especially, previous years has been injuries, but this year you're stuck with Quentin Johnson, right? Like that failed guy, and he's still making him look kind of good in some certain situations. And then, of course, Lad McConkey, who's pretty damn fantastic. I like Justin Herbert, I do, but we've talked about this before. In Houston, their defense is sneakily a top 5 defense in most statistical categories, top 3 in a lot of them. We didn't see that towards the end of the year, and I think that caused us to sleep on it a little bit.
A little recency bias.
We know that offense was good last year. It's just they've had so many injuries. Maybe they're not going to be able to perform. Well, when you go out there and you get 4 interceptions on a quarterback, you are having such a momentum shift that it is extremely difficult for any team to overcome. This Harbaugh-led Chargers team, we thought they were going to get better. We did, but nowhere near being a playoff team. 11-6. That is way exceeding expectations. They were probably a little bit over their feet here in this one. And I think that we were looking at, hey, Texans have looked bad towards the end of the year. The Chargers are exceeding expectations. It feels natural. This is going to be a game that's going to go the Chargers' way. And it absolutely wasn't. When you get that many turnovers, that there's no way you're going to be able to recover from it unless you are playing against a Carolina Panthers team that is somehow, able to get these turnovers, but they're still a bad team, right? Texans, they had a lot of good pieces on that roster. We really liked them coming into this year. They surprised a lot of people, and it'll be interesting this week if they're able to surprise a lot of people as well, because this is a matchup that we thought was going to happen at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Coming into this week. But we didn't expect these teams to be in the spots that they are kind of personnel-wise.
And we got a couple of bold takes that are circulating. By the way, people are very angry with us on TikTok about our bold takes.
Okay.
I think it's awesome. But
if you aren't upsetting people, you're not doing it right.
Roger, let me get you in here, brother. Tell me what you saw. What did you see from this game?
You know what? I'm a Harbaugh guy. I believe in Jim Harbaugh. I believed him when he was a player. I remember when he did the guarantee, when he guaranteed beat Buckeyes. I love him as a coach. That's not his team yet. Whoever's in the West, the Raiders, well, the Raiders are the Raiders. They'll keep raidering, forever. But the West better get it while they can, because when Harbaugh's got his team on the field and it's his program in place, watch out for the Chargers. And I think he's going to calm the quarterback down. Herbert, he's a good quarterback for Jim Harbaugh for what Harbaugh wants to do. I think he's a running game away from what he wants to do. And I don't think you see Herbert throwing the football as much as you do. I think it's going to be wait till Harbaugh really gets. And then when you talk about the Texans, it looked like their quarterback, the Buckeye was, going to have a sophomore slump, and he kind of did. But he rebounded towards the end of and he played, and he won in a big game. He won a big game last year in the playoffs. So that's 2, first round playoff wins for the kid. I like him. But I don't like him against the Chiefs. You know what I mean? The Chiefs are going to take care of business, but they're not ready to get past this next round. You know what I mean? They're going to play. I don't care who they're playing, the Bills, the Ravens, or the Chiefs. The Texans still don't get past this next round. They're not there yet. But I was impressed with the game. Yeah.
I was saying you brought something up, and I was going to ask kind of both you open question here. So we kind of like Harbaugh. Well, obviously you guys like Harbaugh. I like Harbaugh as a coach. Herbert, you guys like him, but I'm starting to have very serious questions about his ability to perform in clutch situations. We saw Sam Darnold have a really, really great year, resurgent year, and then as soon as pressure hit, we saw Sam kind of fall back. We have now seen this happen to Herbert a couple times as well. Does that concern either one of you at all? Is that for that maturation of Justin Herbert? He's going to have to get over that hump at some point, right? He can't lay an egg every time there's pressure.
Yeah, I do have some questions, but it's questions that I don't think that we've had a true opportunity to have answered. because again, when you're throwing to a Quentin Johnson as your number 2 receiver, things aren't going to look great. Like Roger said, it's not Harbaugh's team yet. That was the beginning of it. We see guys like a J.K. Dobbins have an extremely good year because of the type of game that he's wanting to run, a heavy run game. But we're not able to see the full maturation of what his offense can and will be. And part of that is going out, getting probably another running back. I mean, I know in a lot of mocks, Genty's being mocked if he falls there, tight ends, things like that. It's a lot of, if we're going to go back to talking about JJ McCarthy, one of the knocks on McCarthy coming out of college was like he didn't have the volume that a bunch of these other passers did. Well, he came out of that Harbaugh system. It was very run heavy, and then the pass is a lot more break glass when needed. And he performed well when needed. And I think that's not a bad way to go about it. If you have a strong defense and a strong run game, you don't need to break the glass a lot of times. But Herbert's got the physical tools that you want to see when you do need to go that route. I mean, we saw it with the 49ers with Harbaugh as well, is they wanted to be a run heavy team. But they were able to pass the ball when it came down to it. He just had better receivers than one guy with the widest name possible, and Ladd McConkey, that kind of scares you, right? So I don't think the story's written on Herbert at all. It is definitely a question, but I give the guy props for what he's been able to do in less than ideal situations.
Roger, bring us home on this point, and then we'll move on to the next game, brother.
You know what? I'm exactly with Evo on it, and I'll tell you what. The thing is, Coach Harbaugh, he had Alex Smith in San Francisco, and he wasn't afraid to replace him because he wanted to go in a direction, and it proved to be, he went almost in the right direction. They came up short, but he wasn't afraid to do that, make that trade, and bring in another quarterback. So I'm not by any means is Herbert safe. You know what I mean? It's not his quarterback. That's not Jim Harbaugh's quarterback. He came in, we'll see what happens from there. He's got to play next year. He's got to take the job and win it and run with it. And you're right. He hasn't won in the postseason. He's the almost guy. There's a lot more talk and hype about him than actual, production. So Harbaugh won't be afraid. He'll pull the plug on it in a minute. So.
All right, with that, we're going to move on to our next game. That was Steelers, Ravens. Steelers go in, and this kind of seemed like a foregone conclusion. It was just by how many it was going to happen. Steelers lose 14-28. Ravens have their way. Derrick Henry is a fucking dog. I thought I was down on Derrick Henry going into this year. It's like he has a terrible yards per carry. That they know him, like everything about the way he runs, people were starting to stop. But the injection of Lamar Jackson in the backfield with him completely changes everything about what Derrick Henry can do. One extra set of eyes off of Derrick Henry, and now he's over 5 yards a carry. It's unbelievable what they have been able to do with this running game. And Lamar also has his best passing year ever. It's really hard for me to now have not kind of say Lamar deserves the MVP, but it's the criteria has got to stay the same from year to year. Stats, all that shit. So it's going to be very interesting. If either one of them, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, win it, I will be okay with it at this point because Lamar's effect on the game is not only happening with his arm and his legs. He is making everything about that team better. And the Steelers are up Schitt's Creek. I don't know what's going to happen with Tomlin. I hope they keep him and they go fucking 8-9 and get their asses handed to them in the first round of the playoffs for the next decade.
Yeah, look, the Rooney family doesn't move off of head coaches. It's got to be a mutual parting. I don't think Tomlin is ready to mutually part, and so they're not going to pull the trigger and fire him. You're going to see more time there. There's a lot of questions with this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Probably almost just as many as we had at the beginning of the year or this time last year that we have now, because the quarterback situation isn't figured out. Russ had his, couple games back in. You're like, holy shit, there's a quarterback here that can pass and not just run. but he's still not a great passer. He's Russell Wilson in the twilight of his career. You got to look at something different. I think that if they can't figure something out, yeah, Russ will probably be back. He'll be the guy, and they're going to be this milk toast mediocre team. But they don't have the same identity. I mean, TJ Watt hasn't looked like the same player the last several weeks. I think the joke is something like 198 snaps, and he's got no stats.
No stats.
It's kind of wild to think about. The team feels kind of like they've got good pieces here and there, but they have no direction, and that leads you to this milk toast, sort of brand of football that's 9-8, and just a middle of the pack team. And the Ravens, yeah, they are scary. They are one of the scariest teams here in the AFC for sure. The way Lamar Jackson is playing, his passing has been fantastic this year. He was good in this game. Didn't have to be phenomenal because the running game was so damn dominant. 186 yards from Derrick Henry. And then you see, running back 2 gets 81 yards on 15 carries, except for running back 2 is your quarterback. And that brings a whole different mix of problems into the game. It's not like, hey, this is a run play. A lot of them were pass plays that he went and took the bait. He went and ran with it. And so you're on your heels already as a defense from that standpoint. It makes them very, very dangerous. You're talking about the MVP conversation. Look, we were very at least I know I was very much so. Josh Allen seems like the MVP. Yes, I know Lamar Jackson is doing great things. He's putting up great stats. But Josh Allen it felt like he was playing MVP ball. But going back again and looking at these games, and yes, it's a regular season award, but Lamar Jackson is so impactful as well. It is almost down to a coin flip for me here because I can make compelling arguments for either of them. And I think that a majority of the country is probably just going to be happy with whoever gets it because both of them are deserving at this point. Unless you are a Bills fan, a fan of the Ravens, or a fan of these individual players, those are the people who are going to have the most vitriol and fighting for their guy. And I get that. But realistically, this is just, we're seeing some pretty incredible quarterback play that isn't pure quarterback play as we traditionally look at it, which is throwing for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, like as one of the elite quarterbacks. These guys are doing crazy things with their legs and miracle plays and Superman type stuff. We're seeing it from both of them. It's pretty incredible.
Absolutely. Roger, go ahead.
Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin. Pardon?
I'm sorry. I thought you were muted. Go ahead.
Oh, Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin, like you said, could stay there. Extend him like Ryan Day. I'm a big fan of Ryan Day staying in Columbus forever. But you're right, just languish in 7-10, 6-11, 8-9, and just be that mid. Browns fans they make the playoffs or they get there and they limp into it, and then that's it. If they get into it, I don't want to be that either. You know what I mean? So they're a mess. They don't have a quarterback. Who knows what they're going to do? Russell Wilson, I'm afraid that's what's the Brown season is going to be if we get a Kirk Cousins or, because not that Kirk Cousins or any veteran, how long are they going to last if they don't do good? They didn't have a rookie second round pick behind Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson don't play 3 games or, if everybody be calling for the rookie second round pick. But anyway, back to I have all the respect in the world for Lamar Jackson. The Ravens, I think this is unfortunately they're going to run into a buzzsaw. That's the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. But I think this is the year that he gets to the AFC Championship game. He was 16 for 19, almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I figured when he wasn't a threat to run, I didn't think he'd be an accurate passer in the NFL. I really didn't. He made a lot of things happen. He can avoid hits. He never gets hit. He's just masterful. But I thought when that runs out and defenses aren't worried about him running as much as they were when he was young, that his career would be over. And he's proven me wrong. I love watching him play, and I hate that I love watching him play because it's the Baltimore Ravens. He's fun to watch. So I think they're gonna and Derrick Henry putting him in the backfield with Lamar Jackson, and you can have anybody play wide receiver. For them that's comparable. So yeah, that's that. I can't wait for. I think that's going to be a great game, the Bills and the Ravens. And I don't care who wins that game; they better beat Kansas City. I hate the Chiefs. I hate the Chiefs. So I'm just so impressed with Lamar Jackson, man. Everybody swung and missed on that. Baltimore, he's the last pick of the second round. Man, what you want to, whoever picked him, their GM, he's got a job for life. And just think about the holdout and people, they didn't want to pay the now, you know, just ridiculous.
Which is crazy.
Man.
Like, they didn't want to pay him. The Giants could have gone out there and gave up the picks instead of having Danny Dimes come back. When we talked about it
we talked about the Jets. The Jets, that was the year that the Jets go out and get Aaron Rodgers. And Roger, I am very anti-Aaron Rodgers. I think I've pulled Mike on board with me.
Yeah, you have. You've converted me.
And I was very, very anti bringing in Aaron Rodgers for that Jets team. And I was like, you might as well go out there, offer the 2 first rounds for Lamar Jackson, because it's going to be probably as expensive or potentially cheaper in the long run to bring in a Lamar Jackson, or at least, throw your hat in the ring with that and see if this Ravens team would match you or not. They didn't do that. And I think the Jets probably kicked themselves for it. Then again, who knows what this Jets team would look like with Lamar Jackson on it, because it seems like ownership and down in this team is just kind of very wonky on that Jets team, and they might tank any quarterback that goes there. But
the Jets owner didn't like Lamar Jackson's medium throw accuracy in Madden, so he's like, no, I can't fucking take that guy.
That is the most insane thing for just boggles my mind.
I didn't trade for Jerry Jeudy because he was too low in Madden. That was insane. But
insane.
Nice.
It's like basing it on fantasy football stats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I don't know if we need to belabor this game too much more, but I do have a question as it relates to the Steelers and where they're going to move forward, because they do need to move forward in some fashion. Do you see one of these quarterbacks coming back? And if you do, which one is it? Russell Wilson or Justin Fields? Because I don't think that there's any way that they are both back. So if you pick one, which one are you taking if you were the organization, not as you?
Organizationally, it's going to be Russ. The fact that they didn't, like when Russ started to have a little bit more struggled, or, the team did not look good towards the end of the year, they didn't turn back to Justin Fields. They're not going to now, after an offseason, turn back to Justin Fields. I just don't think that's going to happen. So Russ is the vet, the passer. He's the type of guy that they're going to bring back, hopefully on a cheaper deal. But I do think that they're going to look for other options. They have to. It's whether or not they can make something happen. It's not a great free agent quarterback class. It's not a great draft class. And there are some trade opportunities out there, but the trade opportunities that there are not fantastic either. I don't think that they are fix your team type of situations. So the easiest fallback thing is bring Russ back in, try to build up the rest of that roster, and shoot for a 2026 draft that's going to be much more loaded.
Roger?
I think it'd be Russell Wilson out of the two. They didn't give Justin Fields the opportunity. You know what I mean? They knew that Russell Wilson wasn't going to win a Super Bowl for them, but they still went with Russell Wilson instead of maybe Justin Fields can win us a Super Bowl. That thought was not there. So he's not waiting in the wings, and you probably certainly don't want him if, like you said, there's nobody out there to draft for them. They're stuck. I hope they're stuck in 8 and 9 hell forever, and then they'll never have a quarterback. But the only what they do is like they got Russell Wilson on a deal. They're not paying him anything. And who's available? They're going to be available as a guy like Kirk Cousins. I can see if he didn't come to Cleveland, I think Kirk Cousins is already in Cleveland. I think he's already looking for a house in Strongsville. Knowing Kevin Stefanski and all of that. And I think his best opportunity for Kirk Cousins is in Cleveland, no matter who they pick. Because if he doesn't succeed, he's going to be benched, and the number 2 guy, if they draft him, will be in anyway. But that's the kind of move that Pittsburgh would do, is something cheap, that they don't have to pay somebody a lot of money. I don't think they're going to pay Sam Darnold a whole bunch of money to come quarterback in Pittsburgh. So Russell Wilson and whoever, I don't know. Who's the kid that the Jets drafted in the first round?
Zach Wilson?
Sitting on a bench somewhere. Yeah. There's a lot of them. There's a whole list of them.
Yes.
There's a whole.
Steelers should sign Zach Wilson
Jones,
immediately.
all of them. Yeah.
Nation
Yes.
signs
Go to
Zach
all the
Wilson
Mac Jones. Send Mac Jones to Pittsburgh. You know.
Yeah.
I love twisting Mike's titties about the Kirk Cousins going to the Browns thing because I know he's not the biggest fan of it. I will say this, having lived Kirk Cousins for a while, at his peak, it can be fun, at least statistically. I don't know that we'll see that peak again, but the guy is egotistical. He knows that if he comes to Cleveland, until you guys fix the offensive line, he's going to have to find a way to scramble, and he just can't do that. But B, and most importantly, he knows that if he goes there to Cleveland, it's not his new home for the next 3 to 5 years where he's the guy and you guys aren't looking for another quarterback. He knows that he's going to be put into another situation where you guys are going to bring in some young talent that is going to push him for his spot. And it's a matter of time before he expires, right? It's why when he went to Atlanta, he got so butthurt that Michael Penix was drafted because he thought, I got this truckload of money here and I'm their guy for a while. And then they go and draft a quarterback. It's one of the reasons why he probably wasn't willing to come back to Minnesota, because Minnesota made it very clear, hey, this is what we're willing to pay you. But just so you know, we are going to bring in competition. And he wasn't okay with that. So that might sway him away from the Browns. Even knowing Stefanski and enjoying, working with him in the past and whatnot, I think it might sway him away. A team like the Steelers, who isn't in a position to go out and get his competition, that might be more enviable.
You know what? I love your insight on that. Being a Vikings fan, a way more insight on Cousins, what I see is a third-round pick out of Michigan State that got drafted behind RG3, and I knew he was going to have the job before, a season or two. You know what I mean? That was going to be the Redskins at the time quarterback. Just because he's just a working man quarterback. You know what I mean? If he comes to Cleveland, I don't think the Browns are going to win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins, even if he played all year. It's going to be another Jacoby Brissett type situation with the Browns offense, where it's going to muddle along a little bit, I think, if they relied on a veteran, bridge quarterback. So,
I have an idea about what I would like the Browns to do in terms of quarterback. After we are done with this recap, I'll pop these names up. Kirk Cousins is part of the name game here. So I will make my, I guess I'm going to say my first official, once for the Browns, especially based on all the new information that has come out about the fucking organization this week. So I will save that. But let's move on to the next game, which once again, we're not going to need to do too much on because Denver Broncos coming off a big time win, pinch into the playoffs, and then their stud rookie quarterback goes out there, drops a fucking dime, and they go up 7-0. And guess what? Exactly what the fuck we all thought was going to happen happened. The Bills beat the shit out of the rookie and rallied off 31 straight fucking points. Evo, it was really great storyline to start the game. Bo Nix came out there, looked like a dog right from the start. But that Bills team was always going to be way too much, and Bo Nix was not ready for that amount of spotlight. What do you got on this?
Yeah, look, again, Broncos team overperformed this year beyond our expectations. Really, really good defense. Sean Payton, for as much as I really dislike him as a coach, I respect the fact that he's able to put together good, competent teams and get the most out of the players that he wants to be there. That's why bye-bye Russell Wilson. And Bo Nix seems like a good fit for him. This team, it was premature to expect them to be playoff competitive, but they're definitely going to be a team to kind of watch here going forward because now with Bo Nix on the books, Russell Wilson's contracts coming off the books, this team is going to have a lot more flexibility to build and get better. But look, at the end of the day, this team, if Broncos are not able to get their running game going, it really devolves that offense quite a bit. You can only hang so much on your defense when you're going up against such a strong offense like a Buffalo offense. So that's, I thought we could be looking at one that might be a little bit closer, a little bit more competitive. And obviously, after that first drive really wasn't able to be. That's when this Bills team took over and why they are one of those best in the AFC. I do truly believe that we will be looking at either the Bills or the Ravens in the Super Bowl this year, just the way that both of them are playing.
All right, Roger, what do you got, man?
You know what? As a Browns fan, and I was in the heyday of the Coast. I was in my 18, 19, 20-year-old range. when Kozar and we were playing the Broncos, and I hated the Broncos. I hated them with a passion. And some reason I don't have the same hatred for them today that like I do the Steelers. And I think the Ravens took over their slot. When the Browns moved and became the Ravens, my hatred pillar there. We're sitting in it was my son Jack's birthday, turned 10. And we're like, you can eat anywhere you want, whatever you want, Jack. We'll go to eat. And he wanted to have Mexican food from a place we went in we were in Louisville, Ohio, for a baseball tournament. He remembered this restaurant. It's just I couldn't even remember the place. So we go there and I'm watching the game and I see the touchdown. We have the dinner and I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. You get to the halftime and I drive home. I don't listen to the game. We're all talking. There's 5 of us in the van. And I turn on the TV and I see the score. From the time we left the restaurant, sometime in the second quarter, towards the end, to the time I got home, it was just, I said, what happened in this game? Well, Josh Allen happened. You know what I mean? That's what happened. I saw the highlights and he just did what again, that's going to be a hell of a game. I can't wait for the Ravens-Bill game. And you're right. One of those two teams are going to be in the Super Bowl for the AFC this year. So,
yeah, I absolutely agree. So let's not hit this one too much. Broncos, they're going to get a lot better. A lot of salary cap space going forward because Russell Wilson is coming off. So let's move on to the next game. Evo, tee this one up because I feel like you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, Packers go in. They limp into the playoffs with that shitty seeding, and they have to go into a grinder right off the rip versus this Eagles team. They take the L. Eagles win 22-10 over the Packers. And it's a lot of what we have said on this show is that the Packers, while everyone likes to say, hey, their brand of how you figure out the quarterback position is some sort of a gold standard. The cap, unfortunately, while we do like to say cap is a myth, it also does affect your ability to maneuver and build a team. When you move off of a quarterback and your incumbent guy is already at the end of his contract, and you got to pay him like Jordan Love, and you don't really know what he is yet, it puts you in a situation like this. If Jordan Love came out and was the second coming of Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre, statistically for him, then yeah, okay, you can deal with it. You're just rolling from one big money number guy to another big money number guy. But you don't really know that Jordan Love is not those guys. And that's how you get 3 interceptions and fumbling issues and just kind of poor play overall. The big thing for me is I don't think that, the Packers didn't beat anyone good this year. Like they truly did not have any good games against teams that were over 500. Some of them were closer, but they just did not play up to that competition this year. They're missing pieces, and a big part of that is Jordan Love. When he gets pressured, he just becomes real inaccurate. And the Eagles are a very, very dysfunctional team, but they are loaded with talent. They are absolutely loaded with talent. When you can have your premier wide receiver on the sideline chilling, reading a self-help book and then go in and play fucking great. He only had 1 catch in this game, but he didn't need to do much. Like, the Eagles are a very good team. Saquon coming to his team was absolutely what they needed. And they are potentially the class of the NFC. I know a lot of thoughts about the Lions being the best out there, but this Eagles team is packed to the gills with talent. It's just a matter of whether or not they can hold it together emotionally on that side of the ball, So I'm super happy to see the Packers out. I'm happy that the Packers didn't last as long as my Vikings, even though it was technically the same round. Fuck the Packers, and I'm glad that they signed Jordan Love to that huge contract.
I bet you are. Roger, go ahead.
Every time the Packers. I'm glad my buddy was a Purple People Eater fan growing up. He had in the 70s, they had the Sears and Roebuck winter coats, and they had the big NFL zipper on them, and they had this thing was purple, with the yellow hood. And, and I was a Lions fan. My dad's family's from Detroit, so I'm a Michigan Lion. I grew up, and the Detroit Lions are always bad my entire life. So it didn't matter. The Browns are bad. The Lions were bad my whole life. It didn't matter, but him and I, that was our rivalry, to Minnesota and Detroit. We both hated the Packers equally, man. I remember back to Lynn Dickey, and Brett Favre, even though I think Brett Favre is one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game. And then he went to, what'd you think about that when he showed up in Minnesota after
Hated
being
it.
a Packer?
Hated it. I
Right.
loved seeing us go to the postseason. I loved the fact that we, despite Bountygate, almost made it there to the Super Bowl. I actually had said, if we win the Super Bowl, I want an asterisk next to it saying that we had a heretic on our team. And then we have the, what, that terrible throw in the NFC Championship game versus the Saints, where he could have taken a sack and we would have been better off than throwing that pick, right?
Yes.
And it felt in my heart like it was intentional. Whether it was or wasn't, it felt in my heart. That's why I'm rooting for Mark Gastineau when he wants to talk shit to Brett Favre at an autograph signing event, because I don't trust Brett Favre, and obviously, based on some of his legal dealings recently,
I would say,
might not completely be trustable by most people.
You mean world-renowned good guy Brett Favre?
Yeah,
right.
So it was extremely difficult for me to watch that happen and root for a whole lot on that team.
I always wanted, because if Roethlisberger came to Cleveland, but I'll tell you what I think about when I think of the Eagles, and it's Odell Beckham Jr., because I'm watching the kid read a self-help book on the sidelines, and not only him, but DK Metcalf sat to the second round, and we had a moron GM who traded for Odell Beckham, and you're right, they're loaded with talent. Saquon Barkley, it was a decision, is it going to be him or Myles Garrett number 1 overall in that draft? And it was a legitimate thought, because you see now after he's not in New York, what he really is the talent he is when you put him on a football team with talent around him. That's going to be another game. Is going to be the Lions and the Eagles. Going to be a hell of a football game. You're right. The Eagles are loaded. They're loaded with talent.
The only thing I got on this game is that we've been saying this, and we're going to say it until somebody actually listens. Jordan Love is not a good quarterback. I don't know why everybody gets so excited from 1 or 2 good Jordan Love games. Jordan Love is just as bad, if not worse, than Baker Mayfield when it comes to crunch time and inaccurate, dumbass decisions and forcing balls in the windows that they should not go into. Jordan Love is 100% that guy. It has plagued his entire career, and it probably will continue to. You got to be super happy that they signed him to that massive fucking deal.
My comparison of Jordan Love is to Case Keenum when Keenum was with the Vikings and took us to that NFC Championship game, which Keenum, I love, holds a place in my heart for sure. But watching it that season, in reality, Keenum was just kind of slinging the ball around, and it was Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen making insane catches. And it was just pure luck that those and talent from those receivers that they were able to make all the catches. Jordan Love is able to deliver the ball, but it's not accurate. It's not always the best decision making. You need to have top tier receiver talent or some damn good luck in order for it to look really, really good. And then they've got some guys in Green Bay that are good, but they aren't able to overcome the inaccuracies of Jordan Love, because we're not talking about peewee football where, just throwing within a hula hoop of the player is okay all the time. This is professional football. You got to be able to do a back shoulder throw. You got to be able to hit the guy in stride. If you're not able to do that, the defender is going to be there to wreak havoc and possibly intercept the ball 3 times. We see that. And Jordan Love, more often than not, is getting the ball in the vicinity of a player, but not where it should be. And that causes a problem.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move on to that next game. Commanders go in. They get the dub against the guy we were kind of just talking about, maybe taking little shots at, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, big time fumble in this game. Commanders come out on top. Jaden Daniels gets his first playoff win. They did not run the ball well at all. They are going to have to figure that out going forward. But Jaden Daniels found a way to get his team in position to win this game. I have made bold predictions about the Commanders. You have made bold predictions about the number 1 seeds. All of that's still on the table. because I like the Commanders' chances way better than I would have liked the Bucs if they had got a chance to move on. I think they're more dynamic with Jaden Daniels. What'd you see from this game? I mean, do they have any shot against a beat up Lions defense this week?
I mean,
we'll talk about that a little bit as we get into it, but
I'll save thoughts on the Commanders versus the Lions because I do think it's an interesting matchup there. But look, this was two teams that this was almost the same outcome I think as Week 1 when these teams played. Look, Jaden Daniels obviously going to be Rookie of the Year. He looks fantastic. He's doing good things for this team. It's another team that is lacking talent in certain areas, but you're seeing how a quarterback can lift up that play, get good things out of those guys. They've got veteran leadership on that team who maybe isn't as good as they were in the past, but they're veterans. They're going to be able to help ferry this team along a little bit. This was a good game. It was nice to see one come down to the end and a doink make it make the final score what it is. And man, that I love the video of their kickers. I can't constantly fucking with the hair. He was going through it. When I was watching that guy, I was like, couldn't believe it. So yeah.
I thought I had it bad, bro. That dude was stressing.
Yeah, stressing, but hey, probably the best moment of his life.
Oh, yeah. When it goes in.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
It was Roger, what do you got, brother?
I'm watching Baker Mayfield. He dropped the ball, man. I remember, when I'm watching that game play, and that dude will fight. He will fight till the death, and sometimes it's focus, I remember watching him play Green Bay, and it was a horrible season. Everything went bad, but he had 52 guys out there trying to beat Green Bay on Christmas Eve, man. And he did everything he could to lose that football game, man. He just kept getting in his own way. And, man, I was a Baker bro. I wasn't a Baker. I wasn't, I was on and off all the time with Baker. The Commanders, they're young quarterback, man. The thing about he has that team playing the defense plays like he plays. Washington's defense plays like their young quarterback plays the game. They're dangerous. They're a dangerous football team. The Lions, that one's scary. They're a dangerous football team, man. They just kept coming back and coming back. They don't give up. They just keep coming at you. I think they lose games just because there wasn't enough time left in the game. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Some games they lost this year. If the game was another 4 minutes, they would have pulled it. It's just they're a dangerous team. And I'm not looking forward to that game. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat for that one, man.
All right. Oh, I got nothing else on this one, man. I wish Baker the best. He's gone. It's never coming back. But it's time to rip the Band-Aid off from the recap. Evo, your Vikings go down to Arizona. Game is moved from LA where the wildfires are taking place. And the Rams kind of rallied. That big ceremony before the game. You guys fell flat. Sam Darnold fell flat. Wouldn't pull the trigger. Just held the ball for an eternity in this game. Did you see something else? I mean, because that's what it looked like to me. He just didn't want to pull the trigger. What do you got?
Yeah, man. This was kind of a culmination of the issues that this Vikings team have. I talked to you about this before the show. It showed all the warts that we have, which is not a ton. It's things that I think that are fixable. We got a bad interior offensive line. Our left tackle obviously is down for the year. And Sam Darnold, while he does have a lot of good tools, he is physically talented. And we were able to get the most out of him this year. A lot of it, I think, does come down to the coaching. Sam Darnold to me looks like that toolsy rookie quarterback who's a rookie. He needs to develop an ability to operate off script, to work through pressure off of his first read. And I think that his head right now is so mechanical in the way that it processes what's going on that as soon as the machine breaks, he breaks. We saw times this year where he was able to make good things happened, but he also had talented offensive playmakers around him to help him make those things happen when the play breaks down. There were cut-ups of 5 receivers being open when some of these plays are breaking down, and him just not being able to process and pull the trigger. And so I think that Sam Darnold has the potential to be a good quarterback if he's able to get what's going on in here locked down. It's between the ears for him. And when you have a coach like Kevin O'Connell ferrying you through, you're able to look over a lot of those problems and fix things, but not completely solve the problem. And we saw that with Detroit. They when we played them last week of the year, we saw it in this Rams game, bringing pressure, basically wrapping guys around. Those guys don't have to provide the pressure because the interior is going to dissolve, and then Sam's processes just break down. We got to fix the interior line. The defense, despite giving up 27 points, didn't play the most terrible game. Again, when your offense isn't giving you any help, you are out there all the time. It is extremely tough to overcome a talented receiver group. So yeah, I don't want to sit here and say Sam Darnold's the issue, but he and the interior offensive line in particular are a big portion of the blame here. And it's sad for Sam because he probably lost himself $10 to $15 million per year, a lot of millions in guarantees over these last 2 games. I don't think that he will be back with the Vikings at this point. I don't, because JJ McCarthy is out there. He's practicing. He's throwing now. They've talked about that. The team's going to be talking about that because they're ready to move on and not have to saddle themselves with another large contract for a quarterback who has issues. They want their guy. They want to develop him. So I'm looking forward to that. This game was difficult for me to watch because I think that if Sam had taken some more ballsy moves and thrown some of those balls that in situations where the play is breaking down and not been too scared or too difficult to process the situation, then maybe we could have been into it. But it was very, very frustrating to watch certain things. Very frustrating. That Matt Stafford forward pass,
the exceptional throw
grounding.
that he made that just fell aimlessly to the ground somehow.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. I understand the nuance of that rule was applied there. However, that is so fucking stupid.
The call on the field was fumble for touchdown recovery, and I wish that they would have been able to say, the flick of the wrist forward, maybe that wasn't really a pass. Like, that's him trying to get rid of the ball. At worst, it should have been intentional ground.
In the grasp. Why not in the grasp? Like, he's fucking held right there.
Yeah. That it was difficult. I get the rules as well with it, and I understand how it could be interpreted that way. But man, when you got Coach Belichick on the Manning cast being like, "This is bullshit. There's no help for the defense and stuff like that." Like, I absolutely agreed with it. Like, it felt at that point like, I'm not one of those people that says the NFL is scripted. I'm not. But damn, after the LA fires and now feels like they're leaning calls in the Rams direction there. That was tough. At that moment, I was like, this is bullshit. They got it out for us.
They got it out for you. Roger, what you got?
Oh, I'll tell you, I'm watching. The Rams are just a well-coached football team, and watching Matthew Stafford, he's just a distributor. His receivers have 54, 48, 72. You know what I mean? It's just they're just going to keep hitting you with lefts and rights. You know what I mean? They'll hit you with so many lefts, you're begging for a right. He just distributes the football. The Vikings, it's a shame that JJ McCarthy didn't get a chance to play his full rookie season with this Vikings football team and get that year of, would JJ McCarthy been the difference in his football game? Probably not, but it had been a big difference in his career moving forward. And I think that's a talented Vikings football team, but you're right. They're ready to move on with their guy. I'm excited. I can't wait to watch him, man. I think he's the best quarterback out of last year's draft, and he's going to be in the NFL playing for the Minnesota Vikings for some time. I believe that when it's all said and done. You got Jaden McDaniels. How far is another one? I believe in quarterbacks that can run play action more than I do guys that RPO. Look at all the guys that sit on benches and carry clipboards, and the guys that can run play action and turn their back to the defense and run play action football. That's what I believe to be. You talk about Sam Darnold, and I think he's a New England Patriot. I think that's where he'll go. I don't know why. I just have a feeling that would be a destination for Sam Darnold. He's not going to be back in Minnesota, and he's not coming to Cleveland.
Well, they got Drake May up there in New England.
That would be backup, or you think?
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Would that be as in a backup role to?
No. I misspoke. I said I didn't mean the Patriots, man. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I was thinking my mind when I went off track. I said Sam Darnold will end up where I said in Pittsburgh. I don't know why.
Yeah. That's where P&P. I got you. It happens, man. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But go ahead, man. Finish it up.
No, I was gonna say I'm bullish, obviously, on McCarthy, like Roger is. I would love to see him become the best quarterback in this class. The way that we've seen Jaden Daniels play and the stuff that we've seen from Bo Nix and Drake May and some of those guys, like it lends us to believe that this is just going to be a good quarterback class as of right now. I do think, though, that McCarthy, with the issues that Sam Darnold has had, McCarthy is kind of the good antidote to a lot of those things. McCarthy, in his time in college, while he didn't have the volume, when he was under pressure, he was good. He was good throwing on the run. He's a good improviser. If you believe the reports, because he didn't run at the combine, he has 4.4 speed, apparently. Like, he was a good runner in college as well. These are things that a modern NFL quarterback has to be able to do. They have to be able to scramble, get away from pressure, and alibi on a broken play. And Sam Darnold, we were able to see, some of the physical traits take over in situations like that, but he didn't have the head processes to fully complete that circle. I think McCarthy has the capability to do that. I think that he's going to be the perfect type of guy for our situation going forward. I'm extremely excited to move on to the McCarthy era. Given everything that Sam Darnold did, there's been so many conversations about how you have to bring him back. And while I was starting to get on board with that, I was still more of the bring him back on a franchise tag to trade him. Now I don't think that's probably a realistic possibility. I think it's an easy. He gave us the correct excuse to say we are willing to move on. Thank you for your work, Sam Darnold. And now we're going to use all this cap space on a rookie deal to go out there and build our team even more.
I agree, man.
Yeah, he gave me an out because I was thinking he gave you an out because say he did win that game and he continues to play well. 2 or 3 games leading, there'd be a decision to make in Minnesota with a young quarterback. And of course, me hoping that JJ McCarthy ended up in Cleveland, and the Vikings, but I knew that was never going to happen. No matter what he did, it made the decision easy for him.
Yeah, for sure did. All right. So with that, Evo picks from the week. I went 3-3. You went 2-4. I missed on Chargers covering. You missed on Chargers money line. For some reason, we thought the Steelers would keep it close. We were bullish there, I guess. Broncos came out and made it seem like that might be possible in that first drive.
In the first half. It was 10-7 into halftime in that game. It seemed possible.
Yeah, it did. Commanders, though, go out there. You took the points. That kind of made my week right there. Was that Commanders money line? They were plus odds, so that put me in a nice little spot. And then obviously both miss on the Vikings. Not great, not fun to miss. Betting record on the year, not bad still. We'll look to improve this week. We'll get some picks from Roger here as well. But before we dive into picks for the next week, I've kind of prefaced this. I got a tweet here that I'm going to toss up from the Lineman Lounge page. And it's, let me see here. Let's see if I can get it bigger.
Yes.
All right. So we in Brown's Twitter are ruthless to one another when it comes to quarterback play. This guy likes one guy, another guy likes another guy. So fuck you guys. So I just decided that we should come up with some names right off the rip to call each other while we go through this process of figuring out what happens at the quarterback spot. So number one, the Shadur Slobbers. Listen, that's a very aggressive move. But I feel like it fits. If it were not for things that happened this week, that would be me. I think Shadur right now, in my eyes, is the most pro-ready guy. But you're also going to have your Ward Warriors, the Dart Divas, the McCord Morons. By the way, if you say that Kyle McCord got better to an Ohio State fan, they're going to freak out. Why? Yes. I don't know, because I'm also an Ohio State fan. The kid got way fucking better. I think he should be a third-round pick right now. But we got the Coles crew. That's for Kirk, obviously. Got to get that Coles in here. And then the Fields frauds for little Justin Fields action, which at one point was kind of where I wanted to go. So first, your guys' take on the names. Good, bad, room for improvement. I mean, we got to put this out. Which ones we keep and which ones are going. But where are you guys at?
I get it. They all generally seem derogatory, except for the Kohl's crew, because look, Kohl's is a fantastic store. Who doesn't love Kohl's Cash? I don't have one here locally in Sierra Vista, but I can tell you when I was up there in Colorado, I made a trip to Kohl's and it was fantastic. All right, I got a whole new wardrobe. It was great. But look, the only thing I'll say is like these are definitely good group names for the future quarterbacks, but they're all generally derogatory. You know, like in Minnesota, the people who are vehemently behind Kirk Cousins were known as the Kirk Crusaders. And so that name absolutely could still carry if it needs to, because you have people who are very passionate about Kirk Cousins and his statistical prowess. It's just not going to lead you far in the postseason. But yeah, this is pretty good.
Roger, what do you think, man?
These are phenomenal. I love it, man. When I saw the tweet, I forget what I said, but I was like, this is it. The one that hits me the hardest that I can relate to the most is the Fields frauds. It hit me right. It got me right here because I was live on the Dog Chug right after Baker Mayfield shit all over the field in Green Bay on Christmas Eve. That very next Wednesday, it was like December 28th or whatever. And I said, give me anybody. Give me Justin Fields to play quarterback for the Browns. I don't care. I'm done with Baker Mayfield. And I may get what I wish, it may come around, because I also said after that show, give me Jameis Winston too. But in that show, I said either one of them. And I already got Winston. I got a taste of that medicine. So the Fields frauds, it hit me. That's me right there.
Hey, sometimes we think we want
fan.
something, and then we don't actually want it after we get it. But so I'm going to put out my stance right now based on the things. Evo, I don't know if you've seen it, but there was an excellent article that came out by Jason Lloyd in The Athletic, kind of detailing the inner workings of what happened with Deshaun Watson. That's not ever going to happen. It'd be cool, but it's never going to happen. But it kind of detailed the fact that Deshaun Watson was a problem in the locker room. He never wanted to integrate into the system that Stefanski wanted to run, that he was sold on. So I put out a tweet, and it was basically, and I'm going to kind of repeat it here, that Deshaun Watson is a bad teammate. I understand getting your money. Like, get all the money you can in football. Football is a fucking short career. But don't be on your high horse like, well, he cares. He doesn't care. He didn't care. He knew that Stefanski wanted to run his style of offense, but never was willing to work into that or try that, and everything kind of had to shift to him. And that's never going to work. But on top of that, something else that came out in that article is that Kevin Stefanski never once corrected or coached or anything Deshaun Watson in front of the team. That is a lack of accountability that I absolutely do not think should be coaching our fucking football team. I think Kevin Stefanski should get fucking fired immediately after this article if any of what that shit came out is true. If you're not coaching your guy like you coach everybody fucking else, I don't know how you have the respect of anybody in that locker room, and anybody who is worth anything in there is just going to tell you to fuck off when it comes down to it, because they know that you're going to fold like a little bitch. So I think Kevin Stefanski should go. And for that, I think I'm a part of the Coles crew, because I want Kirk Cousins to come here. I want him to suck, and I want him and Kevin Stefanski to go fuck off somewhere else after next year. That's the only way I for sure see it happening. I'm done. I'm out on Stefanski. I do not think that he and Andrew Berry should have any decision in who our next quarterback should be. And this is not a great quarterback class anyways. So give me the D tackle out of Michigan. Give me the DN from Penn State. I don't care. Build the fucking trenches. Go get Kirk Cousins so you guys can fuck off after that. That's where I'm at on this whole thing. Roger, you as the fellow Browns fan, where are you? How do you feel going in after? I mean, I assume that you read the article like every other Browns fan did.
Well, I read snippets of it. All the highlights of it. Because I was paying for so many of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I subscribed to this, it was just pouring out of the bank account, and it was all the same. They all write the same stuff. So I just read the snippets of it. But you know what, man? What I'm going to say about Stefanski is he started talking in I statements, and it's sink or swim. They're going to let you pick a quarterback, and you're right. If it's Kirk Cousins and he don't succeed, out. I want to see out. Who I really don't believe in more than any of them is Paul DePodesta and Andrew Berry. I hope to God they don't get to pick a quarterback. I hope it is Kirk Cousins, a guy in the second round, somebody to develop. Which in the NFL, how often does that happen, really? Honestly, where a guy gets to sit and develop. It doesn't happen too often. So I'm on the fence with Stefanski. I was a big Stefanski supporter for a long time. And right now I'm on the fence because you know what? The only thing that makes sense with him still having respect in the locker room is everybody felt the same way. That I think the Watson was untouchable, and that came from above. And I think at that point, Stefanski is just like, fuck it, It's not even worth, it's not even worth wasting my time. I don't think he had the power to bench him. I think it was up to Stefanski. He just wanted him to bench him. You know what I mean? I don't think he could. I don't think he was allowed,
Well, so you guys on your show the other night was a spit, sip, chug in relation to Kevin Stefanski and all of that. You had Stefanski girl, also part of the Browns Twitter on there. If she's watching this, I'm sorry. We've never met, but I don't want your guy to be here anymore. It's just a total lack of leadership, in my opinion. Evo, I know you're very big on the leadership thing as well. Do you feel? Obviously, you probably don't feel as strongly as I do. But do you have a similar viewpoint? Like, if you're not holding your quarterback accountable, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's a difficult situation to be in. I kind of get what Roger is saying here because I feel like Stefanski was probably neutered. Like, it's tough to be a leader when you're completely neutered. Mike, this being in the Army, that there are bad leaders at all sorts of echelons, and sometimes good leaders are able to overcome that. And sometimes, no matter how good a leader is above you, if there's ones that are bad above them, you're kind of neutered. And when you have a guy like Deshaun Watson, who is brought in with so much money being attached to him that you're unable to put together a good roster, you're unable to coach the team the way that you want to. I mean, Stefanski's job is literally to coach the team, to set the depth chart. If it is true that he's not able to set the depth chart and coach the team, and you're talking about a guy that is essentially untouchable because of that contract, because obviously Deshaun thinks he's untouchable, egotistical, because he has that much money. He probably doesn't care if, Stefanski's not running my system. I don't want to do that. So I'm just not going to play ball. Like, I'm just going to continue to earn my money because I have my money. That's the kind of the way that, like, egotistical, narcissistic people will be is they're going to have that mindset and they're not going to care what goes on around them. So it might have been a situation where Stefanski knows this guy doesn't give a fuck. I could tear him an asshole in public. I could tear him an asshole in private. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just going to cause division in the team. So maybe his thought is like, I'm going to keep this behind closed doors. I don't know. I could make a lot of excuses for Stefanski. I like Kevin Stefanski.
Do you think you would make the team, but it's going to split the team? Do you want the guys that are like, well, let's stick up for Deshaun Watson, who has done nothing to help this organization win, really? Like, has dragged the organization down, has played terrible quarterback. Like, sure, the team was winning games at one point with Deshaun Watson, but that was the team winning outside of like a half of football. So if you got a whole bunch of dudes in there that are like, yeah, I'm about the money like Deshaun is, you already have a fucking problem, coach. Like, that's another coaching issue, is it not? Or is that an organizational issue above them going out and getting the wrong kinds of guys? Are we talking about roster construction that is a massive failure then?
I think that no matter which way you want to come at this, there's problems. Like it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as Browns fans, you guys are probably too used to this. There needs to be a rebuild. Like it needs to happen because you guys, the house that was built, it looked like there were some promising things there, but it quickly decayed because you guys put in cheap Timu stuff, aka Deshaun Watson. Like it's falling apart. Look, I feel for Stefanski because I liked him as a coach when he was with the Vikings. I liked some of the things he did there with you, the Browns, but I feel like he was neutered and he was put between that rock and a hard place where there isn't really a good answer. On one hand, he could sit there and admonish Deshaun for his actions, the way that he's playing, things he's doing, not being a team player. And you're going to have some players on the team that are going to respect that. You're also going to have some players that are going to say, man, this guy is trashing this dude. I don't want to be the next guy that he trashes. You are dealing with NFL players who are making a lot of money and have egos. Like, and right or wrong, some are going to think that way, unfortunately. I think, look, this Stefanski is going to be with your team next year, right? I think that he's probably gone. You guys have an opportunity to set up for a relatively quick rebuild, potentially, because you do have good pieces on this team. This is not a good quarterback class, but imagine the team going into 2026 offseason. New GM, new head coach going to come in, and an opportunity to go after a quarterback with a high draft pick. I know that this hurts, Mike, because you love Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett wants to know what the answer is. And I don't know if he's going to be willing to wait for that sort of an answer. But if you have to move on from him, you know you're getting a lot of picks in return, and that's going to help you. That even if your if your record isn't bad enough to get you in one of those top 3 picks next year, you'll have the capital to move and maneuver to get a guy that you want in 2026.
If that's the case where we have to move on from Myles Garrett, it makes number 2 very easy. It's Carter from Penn State.
And even then, it's like I like Abdul Carter, especially as a designated passer or pass rusher. But like you have so many holes to fill that, and you do have a lot of picks this year. But like you can maneuver around, gather more, just take as many shots as possible. And I've already put out my 1.0 mock, but my thought for you guys is trade the assets as much as possible. Move down in the draft if you can a little bit this year. And I think that going after a guy like a Jackson Dart, who is a high upside guy that you're going to be able to get outside of round 1, who maybe gives you a little bit of a spark and maybe you strike gold and somehow he turns out good, then that's a great situation to be in. But worst case, you've got a guy who should at least be able to be a developmental or backup quarterback, and you can look at getting your true leader of that franchise in 2026, helmed by a new coach and a new GM, a new front office. Hopefully that will be an enviable spot to be in for your team in order to make moves in 2026. It sucks being that we just are now in 2025 looking towards the 2025 season. And I'm already kind of saying like, maybe this needs to be written off as a year. This needs to be a reset year. But there are good trench players in this draft. This is the time to retool and try to get better there.
Yes, it is. Go ahead,
I
Roger.
think Stefanski, I was just going to say real quick, Stefanski's biggest mistake is not handing over play calling to Ken Dorsey when the season started. From as soon as he hired him, he should have said he's coming in and he's calling plays. And he should have washed his hand of the whole mess that he knew wasn't going to succeed in the first place. What kind of backup quarterback? I believe he was allowed to pick a certain quarterback, and I think he settled on Jameis Winston. He does not play anything like Deshaun Watson plays.
Correct.
He is a pocket. He said, all right, if I'm stuck with this guy, at least give me a guy that can run my system as the backup. That way, when this guy goes down, which is inevitable, I'll at least have a quarterback that maybe we can succeed with. I think he should have washed his hands of the whole thing for the start. Like I said, I'm on the fence with him. He's got to win this year. I would rather build in the trenches. And look, if they're planning on building a dome, that's going to happen. I don't care what the city of Cleveland. They just want a check from Haslam is all they want. That's a money grab. They want a check. They don't care what happens because they got a big shiny dome in Jimmy's World out in Brook Park that's going to happen. So between now and 2028, you're right. Retool for 2026, 27 even. Bring in a new regime, new quarterback, move it into your new place in what, 2028, 29, right? 2028, they move into it.
Yeah.
That's what Jimmy Haslam has going for him. A big shiny building that, he's going to sell PSLs for, man. And if they fail this year, you're right. It's a house cleaning and it's a rebuild with a new quarterback, a new regime into the new building, and into the next, decade. So Haslam's sitting on, he's got all aces in his hand, man. He's got all aces in his hand.
Yes, he does. All right, guys, let's get off of the recaps and let's move into some football coming up tomorrow afternoon, 4:30. We got the Houston Texans going into Kansas City. Spread for this game, Kansas City minus 8.5, favorite on the money line, minus 500, over under 41.5. Texans get a big win in round one, a surprise win. It appears that Vegas does not like their chances in this one as well. They are big dogs. 8.5 points here, Evo and Roger. That is a lot of points to give up in any game, let alone a playoff game against two very good teams that won their divisions. Roger, let's go ahead and start with you, man. If you were making a bet, you're going to drop the points, take the points, you're going to just bet on the money line on one of these teams for this week.
Man, it's a tough call, man. You mean out of all the games or just one?
No. So this game, we're gonna go on this game. You're gonna pick either a money line bet for Texans or Chiefs, or you can take the spread plus 8.5 for the Texans, minus 8.5 for the Chiefs.
Right. You know what? I'm going to take the spread. I'm going to take the Texans with the points.
Texans with the points. Evo, Texans with the points as well. Are we expecting another good game? Do you think they can back it up, or is going into Kansas City going to make this kind of tough?
Yeah, so looking here at the weather, it's going to be cold, 23 degrees as of right now, a little bit breezy, 13-mile-per-hour winds, but no real big weather effects in this game, so we can't really decide anything from that. The thing here is the Chiefs, we know their defense has been really good this year, right? They had a bit of a drop-off when I believe it was Jalen Warren, young cornerback, when he went down with injury. While we're doing the show, he's been activated. He is going to play. He's going to be a big uplift to that secondary for the Chiefs defense. The Texans, like I said, really good defense when playing at home, but they're on the road here going up against this Kansas City Chiefs team where you have Patrick Mahomes. I believe he hasn't played since before Christmas or on Christmas Day, right? 25 days off, I believe. So plenty of rest, plenty of time to retool, get ready for this game. I think this game could be close. I'm not going to be scared for anyone that's taking the Texans plus the points, but I'm going money line Kansas City Chiefs here. This feels like the Texans did very well at home last week, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're going to find a way to probably get themselves propelled forward. It's just when the Chiefs go into the next week, that's when they're in the blender. That's when they're going to be going up against a really fucking good team in either the Ravens or the Bills. So Texans fans, while I am going to be rooting for you because like the rest of America, I think we like parity and we like to see the Chiefs go down and not go to the Super Bowl every year. I don't think that this is a three-peat. I think that everyone's rooting for the Texans right now. I think that it's going to be a tough game for them. The spread isn't crazy if you want to take the Texans plus the points there, because that is a lot of points. But give me the Chiefs money line.
And so I feel like the safest bet is Texans plus the points, because the Chiefs are not necessarily a super explosive offense. It's going to be kind of cold. And 8.5 is so many points, and they just perpetually don't cover. So I'm going to rock Texans plus 8.5. I got some other bets in here that are going to be a little more crazy, a little more exciting. But I feel safe there. The Chiefs just are not a team that I think has put the hammer down on anybody, and I'm not sure they have enough to do it offensively. That Texans defense is good. They obviously perform much better at home, but they can still play some fucking ball. So,
all righty. Next up, we have another Saturday game. Washington Commanders at Detroit Lions. Commanders are getting 9.5 points here at -110 odds, or you can drop those points for the Lions at home for -110. Another big spread, the biggest spread of the weekend as of right now. Look, this Lions team got to sit. They have that week off. That's good for their health. David Montgomery is coming back, going to be playing in this game. And the Washington Commanders obviously are really dynamic. The question all around has been, while this Lions team has been a juggernaut, can they overcome the injuries, specifically on the defensive side? They had a good game plan in Week 18 versus my Vikings, where Aaron Glenn just brought hella pressure, right? But I don't know if that's going to work as well against a Jaden Daniels, who's very mobile. He is a runner. Like, yeah, Sam Darnold can be mobile, but obviously you can cause his brain to glitch and see ghosts. Is that what's going to happen with Jaden Daniels? I don't know. It's a lot of pressure going in this game, but he was able to perform last week in a playoff game versus the Bucs. So, Roger, in this game, do you think that your Lions there, because I see that Lions sticker, I know you're talking about being a bit of a fan, you think they got what it takes to win this game? And are you going to go money line or spread in this one?
I got to go money line. The Lions. That's a lot of points, man. That's a lot of points in any playoff game. And you're right, Jaden Daniels, man, against the Lions defense is tough. They're tough, but that kid just he scares me. I think the Lions are going to win, but it's not going to be a cakewalk for the Lions. You're right. They got healthy. They had a week off, some rest. But the Commanders are a wild card, man, because they beat a mid team out of a bad division, in the Buccaneers. With a quarterback that shot himself in the foot, and they pulled that game off. If it was the Buccaneers that pulled that game off and the Lions, I definitely would take the 9 points with the Buccaneers against the Lions. So I think, I'm 90% on that. But yeah, Lions on the money line. That's a lot of points. It's going to be a good football game, but I think the Lions win. Yeah.
All right, Mike, where are you at?
I stand by what I said. Jaden Daniels is getting his team to the NFC Championship game. Taking Commanders on the money line at the fucking plus 440 odds. I think that there's too much time. I took the Texans plus the points. I think the Texans are going to win, because I also believe in your bold prediction, Evo, that neither of the first seeds are getting past the divisional round. I think they both get dropped this week, but I trust the Commanders and what Jaden Daniels doing a little bit more. That kid is special. He is having probably the greatest rookie quarterback season ever. And I know we were just talking about this with CJ Stroud last year, but my God, this kid wins from everywhere. He is not just a runner. He is so fucking good from the pocket, manipulates the pocket, understands pressure, and knows how to, and is athletic enough to escape it. This is the only guy, and I wrote it up in my write-up. I even went back to look to make sure it was in there. He's the only guy I've ever watched, and I was like, holy fuck, he actually looks like Lamar Jackson, but he's a much better thrower. I think Jaden Daniels is going to take over this league at some point. I think he's incredibly special. I'm taking the fucking Commanders on the money line, and I'm sticking to my bold prediction.
And so, not to completely stray away from my bold prediction, because I do think that there's a good chance that neither of the one seeds make it past this divisional round, I'm going to take the Commanders plus the points in this one. I think that look, the Detroit Lions, we know their offense can put up a lot of points. We know that this Commanders team can hang with good teams. The Commanders just several weeks ago beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who we said is an extremely talented roster with some dysfunction in it. But they were able to go out there and get that win, come from behind and do that as well. I think that the Commanders can put up some points on this team. I think that the Lions defense, with as hurt as they are, aren't going to be able to pull the same tricks that they did with the Vikings. It's going to be more difficult versus this Commanders offense because of that mobility of the quarterback. I do still kind of in my gut think that going into Detroit, this is going to be a really, really tough place to play for this Commanders team because you have decades of pain in these fans that is coming out in raw emotion. They are going to be doing everything that they can to propel their team. And I do think that the Lions will probably win this game, but I'm going to take the Commanders plus the points because I don't see this being a 10-point game. 6 point, 7 point, maybe, but 10 points, 2 scores. I have a little more difficulty seeing that as of right now. So Commanders plus the points for me on this one. That being said, if the Lions do win this game, I really hope that they make it all the way to the Super Bowl because for as much as, I like to bash on the other NFC North teams, we've always seen how maligned the Lions are. And it's nice to kind of see the little brother that's always struggled kind of take their shot and go all the way.
They had to watch Matthew Stafford leave and go win. And my take and my bet was Lions is all heart. I never put money. I never would actually bet on that game because I'm, bet with my heart. I can't even give you the point, But the Lions fans had to watch Matthew Stafford leave there. That I was sure he was going to win a Super Bowl. I was positive he was going to win a Super Bowl in Detroit. And they had to watch him go to LA and win one. Yeah, they deserve it. Those fans are going to be crazy. It's going to be nuts.
When you see the trade, the way it all shaked out, it looks like an absolute landslide for the Lions. But then you think about it, you're like, fuck them picks. Can totally won a Super Bowl. So in the end, it worked out for both of those teams. Rarely, I think, do we see a trade work out that well for both of these squads. But with that, guys, let's hop into the next game. We got the Rams heading out to Philly. The Eagles are favored in this game, -6.5, -275 on the money line, over under a 43.5. Rams riding a real emotional wave with everything going on out in LA. They go out to Arizona. They're obviously a really cool thing that they did, making sure that they got out there, took care of those guys. They're going out to Philly now. Their families are still there. There's a lot of shit still going on back home for these guys. And now they're going out to play a really good Philadelphia Eagles team. And at a touchdown, it feels like quite a bit because we know, or I've seen, Roger brought it up earlier, how well coached that Rams team is. So, Evo, where are you at on this one, man? Does McVay keep this thing close? Can he pull off the upset even?
I think it's possible. I think it stays close, and I think he could pull off the upset. But pragmatically, I got to go with the Eagles here, playing at home. Philly's a tough place to play, and they are just such a stacked roster. We are seeing good things happen from this Rams defense with a bunch of guys who are generally no-namers, but you still have guys like Jared Verse going out there. Those FSU boys along that line, they're doing work. They're making some things happen. Philly has a good offense, though. They can beat you any way they want. They can run the ball, or they got competent guys to receive the ball. Jalen Hurts, while I still have questions about him, like he can deliver the ball when we doubted that he could do it. In the middle of the year, things were looking really bad. He came out and showed us, hey, the dysfunction, we can beat that. I like the Philly Eagles to win this game. I'm taking them on the money line. But the Rams, I think, are a sneaky pick to, because they are so well coached by McVay. They have a chance to actually win this one.
All right, Roger, what do you got?
I'd love to, I really would love to see the Rams Lions. I'd like to see Matthew Stafford get beat by the Lions to go to the Super Bowl. I would love to see that. But I got to go money line Eagles. The talent, Philadelphia, playing there. I've always had a thing about the line. I mean, Harold Carmichael and Jawar. The Eagles are just one of them NFC teams that, they just a mystique about them for me. I don't know why. Despite the Rams being so well coached, and I think this is where they get beat. And Eagles money line, just talented team.
And I'm going to bring it home. Eagles money line as well, guys. I think the Rams are a good team. I think that at a certain point, outside shit in your life can weigh down on you a little bit. And when you're talking about the safety of your family, that plays a huge role in the things that are going on in your life. So I just got to go with Eagles money line. Saquon's the best back in the league. And that I don't say that lightly because Derrick Henry had a fucking phenomenal year. But as long as Jalen Hurts stays healthy throughout this game, I think that they go out there and they win. And I don't know by how much because they are so well coached. So, yeah, just going right there. Evo, you want to take us home on this last one, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. So our last game is going to be Sunday night. Baltimore Ravens going into Buffalo. This is the game I think that everyone's really wanted to pay attention to this week because these are two fucking phenomenal teams with the two guys that are vying for that MVP spot. Even though the voting shouldn't matter based off of this game, it might leak in a little bit. Who knows? But look, the Ravens are dropping 1.5 points here as the road favorites going into Buffalo. You can get that at minus 105 odds, or you can give 1.5 points to the Bills at minus 115 odds, plus 100 on the money line for the Bills at home, over under of 51.5. This is set up to be a fantastic game. Look, we've had several of those this year where we're like, this game could be the game of the year. You know, we talked about the Bills versus the Lions several weeks ago, could be the game of the year. There was high drama in that week 18 versus the Vikings and Lions, and it turned out to be a flop. But this one, it really does seem set up to be pretty fucking great. So, Roger, where do you think that this game is going? Who you got on this one?
Well, I want the Bills to win because you already got the Lions. They already have to face Daniels with the Commanders. I'd hate to see them have to come right back, and face a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, in a Super Bowl. So I'm kind of wanting the Bills to win. That's with my heart. I want the over, though. I think it's going to be a high flying. I'm going over on this game. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I think these two are going to go at it, man. I think you're going to see eight touchdowns, man. They can throw three apiece and score on the ground. Yeah, man, I think there's going to be a high scoring game. Give me the over. I want the Bills to win with my heart, but I said earlier, Lamar Jackson is something special. I think this is his turn to get to the AFC Championship game. But give me the over, man. It's going to be a fantastic football game.
Yeah, I personally like the over in this one as well. It makes a lot of sense because this is going to be akin to several years ago where we saw that regular season game versus the Bills and the Chiefs, where it was just touchdown, back and forth. A fantastic game. I think that we could be seeing another version of that here because both defenses are a little bit susceptible. They've got little chinks in the armor, but both offenses could just rally off a ton of points. So it looks like it could be a fun one. As far as the game, though, full prediction of it, I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards like kind of what Roger's saying. I want the Bills to win this one. I want the Bills to win for our boy Sven, who was in the chat here earlier. I want to see that Bills team be able to go. I really like it, but I am taking the Ravens and I'm dropping the 1.5.
Ooh.
I think that the Ravens are something about them after watching them again last week. I feel like they've kind of got it, and they might make it all the way to the big dance this year. Maybe it's that shitty stat that I brought up last week about 28-year-old quarterbacks on a Ravens team and winning by a certain amount of points. I don't know what it is, but my guts tell me that the Ravens go in there and win this one.
All right. I'm going the opposite way, man. I'm taking Bills on the money line at the plus 100 odds. I think the Bills are going to win this game. I do expect it to be a very good game, very close game, high scoring as well. But when it gets down to the stage, this is not a knock on Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson is probably the most fun player that has ever played in the NFL. That includes Michael Vick. He is, I think, surpassed that level of like, holy fuck, watch what this guy can do. We have not seen him step up and rise to the occasion against a really good team in the playoffs. He has playoff wins, yes, but they haven't beaten a good team in the playoffs. They have beaten like the Steelers and those levels of teams. We have not seen that next step. We have seen Josh Allen duel some other guys, get to an AFC championship game. I think Josh is ready to take that next step because if they run into the Chiefs or the Texans in the next round, actually, it doesn't matter who they run into the next round. Whatever team wins this game is winning the next one.
Yeah,
I feel like the Bills, it's that time. It's Josh's time up in Buffalo as the home dog. That's a little bit of bulletin board material. Now, I know it doesn't mean a lot in the NFL, but those guys know that they're not favored. That means something. Josh knows that there's a lot of people talking that he shouldn't be the MVP and Lamar Jackson should be. I think Josh is that guy that rises to the occasion and does that Superman shit and finds a way to pull this thing out in what is going to be an absolutely wild game. But Bills, money line for me.
All righty. And look, with plus 100 odds, I don't blame you on that one either. Like, it's good odds.
Hey, I like even money, bro. I'll take
Absolutely.
even money every time.
For sure, for sure. But hey, that wraps up the divisional week of football. Do we have any closing comments, anything that we want to go over here?
I don't think that there's too many other things that have come out that we need to discuss, but I do want to say thank you very much to Roger for joining us on today's show. It was an absolute pleasure, my man. Tell our folks where they can check you guys out and everything that you do over at the Dog Show.
We go live every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. This week we have actually Jessica. She's been with us as a contributor and just since day one, coming up on 4 seasons, 5 years, or 5 years, 4 seasons, whatever. She's been through since the beginning, but her husband Shane is from Minnesota. He's a big Vikings fan. But Jessica's going to join us. We're every Wednesday night, 10 o'clock. We got a special guard chug coming up when pitchers and catches report with the guys from At the Corner, Chuck and those guys and Zach coming by. So that's coming up. So check us out. Wednesday nights.
I love your guys' show. I like the segments, the spit, sip, chug. Go ahead, Roger.
I just want to send because you're not on X, right? Evo, are you on X?
I am on X. I don't participate a ton because I get on there. I get on there and then there's a lot of vitriol and hate, and I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this, and then it keeps pulling me back.
Well, I've extended the invitation. You got to come and join us. At least DM me. I see that your at's there at the bottom now. I do see that. So come and join us and come visit on Dog Chuck. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. We'll have to work that out.
Absolutely. All right. Well, gentlemen, I think that about wraps it up. Roger, once again, thank you. Evo.
Thank you, guys.
We got any last words for the people before we get out of here?
No, look, thanks for everyone that tuned in tonight. We really appreciate it. Roger, thank you so much for coming on. It's awesome having guests. Hopefully you'll be a repeat offender with us and come back again. I'm sure that we're going to have a lot to talk about, especially with your Browns going into this off season. And we love to get other takes because we don't want to just have an echo chamber in here just of our thoughts. We like to hear everyone's ideas and thoughts on the way that we can help build our football teams, because we all have these thoughts of grandeur of how it can happen. Some come true, some don't. Most of the time they don't for our teams. I mean, damn, we've had some difficulties in our history. But look, thanks for everyone who has tuned in. We really appreciate you. You look at this bottom bar of the screen, you can find all the different places to find us on X, Facebook, the TikTok, while it's still available. We'll see what happens. Apparently that's been pushed down the line, and we'll see.
Much like Deshaun Watson's contract, they get kicked down the road.
We'll see what happens with that. The call line is not open anymore, but normally on our shows, you can go ahead, feel free to call in and give us your thoughts. Or if you want to stick a little bit more in the shadows, you can, of course, comment. And then our YouTube page, if you would take the time to go ahead, like, share, and subscribe, we would really appreciate your help in helping to grow our channel, our brand. Again, Roger, thank you for coming on. And Mike, thanks for what you do and helping lead this ship going forward.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Roger, thank you very much, guys. This is the Lineman Lounge. Anytime you spend some time with us, we are forever grateful. Time is the most valuable thing that you have. So anytime you give some of it to us, we cannot thank you enough. We will be back Tuesday. We'll be doing a recap of the divisional round, making some predictions as the playoffs go on. But with that, we are going to get the fuck out of here. I'm Mike. That is Evo. On the far end is Roger. But we're going to get the fuck out of here. See ya.
See you.